I'm with Abdulla Shahid, the very suave, sophisticated and urbane Foreign Minister of the Maldives, the former President of the UN General Assembly, but right here in Delhi, where he's visiting. He is here in his capacity as former minister. Lots of things happening in the Maldives, this amazingly beautiful country in the Indian Ocean, absolutely stunning. I know that during COVID, lots of Indians were there, but we brought Mr. Shahid to Delhi. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that very kind introduction. Many of it not true.
I'm sure all of it is true and spoken like a true diplomat. But, you know, when you've come here, you brought the rains to Delhi, by the way. I don't think we've seen this kind of rains in 30 or 40 years. So thank you for lightening up the atmosphere and dissipating the heat, although the rains were a bit much.
It's cooled down.
It's cooled down considerably since you've come.
Yes.
But, sir, tell me, how was your visit to India? What was it like?
Well, as always, very productive.
What were you doing here?
I met the External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar. Dr. Jaishankar and I reviewed the ongoing development cooperation programs.
What does that mean?
And also signed additional 9 MOUs on high-impact community development projects.
In the Maldives?
In the Maldives, yes. When you look at...
But how much money is that?
About 2.7 billion overall package in the last 4 years.
$2.7 billion?
Yes.
So this is what, grants or loans?
Grants, loans, concessional loans. So
that's good money.
It's a mixture.
Is that good money for the
Well,
Maldives?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But when you say community development, what does that mean?
Community development is grassroots projects. And the 9 projects that we exchanged the MOUs this time range from small fish processing plants in Diggar to street lighting in Gaf Alif Konde.
I love the names. Can you say that again?
Konde, Gaf Alif Konde.
Gaf Alif Konde.
Konde, yes. Okay. That is in the south. In
Addu?
No. It's in Huaduatol.
Okay.
Yes.
How far is that from the equator?
Well, not very far. Yes. Not very far from the equator. Just north of the equator, very close by.
Okay.
Yes, and then we have, for example, a volleyball court in Shaviani Kanditim for the youth.
But why should India build a volleyball court in the Maldives?
No, it's not that India is building it. It's that the youth of Kanditim wants a volleyball court.
Okay.
And it's not India, but the government of Maldives allocating these projects,
right?
Which India.
I mean, I love volleyball, so I have nothing against.
Well, you should come to the Maldives and
play volleyball and basketball. Do you play basketball?
Well, given my
your height?
Shorter height, I think I can aspire, but no.
Listen, I just want to say that Napoleon was a short man, and you know what he did.
Well, short people can do things.
Oh, a lot of things. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Describe to me the relationship between India and the Maldives.
Solid.
What does that mean?
Meaning that there is a complete understanding at the level of the leadership of both countries.
So that's Prime Minister Modi and President
Solih.
Solih.
Yes, at the level of ministers, at the level of technical officers. There is an ongoing process of meetings, not giving room for misunderstandings.
But what kind of misunderstandings could there be?
If you don't meet and talk enough.
Like what?
Like you are seeing around the world.
Like?
Well, I will leave it.
No, give me an example. What kind of
misunderstanding? I will leave it to you.
No, for example,
yes,
you've had...
The relationship between Maldives and India
yeah.
Stems from this very dynamic relationship between the President and the Prime Minister.
He's a solid president, right? He's very quiet, very reserved. But
I can vouch for that. He's a solid president.
Okay.
Yes.
But
very dynamic.
Very dynamic?
Yes.
Dynamic and solid?
Yes.
And like you said, like the Prime Minister?
They worked very well. And their commitment for this relationship is something that is unmatched, that we have not seen in the past. As you would know, I have been around in Maldivian politics for much longer.
Some time.
Yes, for some time with a number of presidents. and this is my second term as foreign minister, so I know how the relationship has progressed.
So how would you compare it? I mean, I think that's a really interesting thing to say. And obviously we see that the India-Maldives relationship is a really good one. But how would you compare this term of Ibu Solih's with the previous relationships between India and the previous presidents?
President Solih has, once a commitment is given, he honors it. And
give me an example.
The India First policy in his foreign policy.
Right.
You would recall that India First was first pronounced by not President Solih. It was pronounced by President Yamin in his visit to Delhi. But then he never kept it. He gave away very soon. But President Solih, when he commits, he would have thought about it comprehensively and he would deliver.
Why did Yamin not deliver on India First?
You should ask.
No, I'm asking you. He's in jail now.
No.
And he's in the opposition.
Yes. When you get an opportunity.
No, what do you think? You're in the ruling party.
Yes, I shouldn't be.
This is the time, Mr. Shahid.
Yes. I shouldn't be saying things that others could answer. And no, I think you should ask.
No, I will definitely
ask PPM to explain why they were not able to keep their commitment to India First policy.
Not just keep a commitment, but actually do exactly the opposite, which is do an India Out campaign.
Yes, the India Out campaign led by President Yamin and his PPM leadership. I always see them as a fringe group.
You see the PPM as a fringe group?
The India Out campaign is led by a fringe group.
I see.
A campaign which has never taken off. When you look at the Maldives, the number of people who come out to support this is very few. And they have been trying it for the last 2.5 years. And it has never taken off. It's the same group of people who come out, do the chants, and go
So the
back.
PPM is not really interested in India Out, is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is the people of the Maldives is not.
So why did the PPM then try India Out?
Because they have nothing else to sell to the people.
Are
They have no solid policies, either development or economic policies. They have no political platform to stand on. So they are trying to create hate. And hate is something that they are familiar with, I think. But Maldivians today are not interested in promoting hate. Maldivians are interested in a government which is able to make their life better.
I heard that PPM is planning to drop the India Hate campaign. Is that correct? The India Out campaign.
That will be very welcome.
But why? So basically,
it will be very welcome because hate should not have any place in Maldivian politics. I will be very happy if they drop this. The long-term effects of a continuous campaign like this could be very damaging.
Right.
Because the friendship between our peoples is so solid. And there shouldn't be any people who should continue to do this. Look at how India has come to our assistance. Every time Maldives have had to dial the international 911,
right,
the first responder is always India.
But tell me something.
Irrespective of who is in government.
Yeah.
1988, the mercenary attack.
That's right.
President Gayoom.
Yeah.
2004 tsunami, President Gayoom. India came to our assistance. 2015, the water crisis in Mali. President Yamin in office. Do you know that within 6 hours of water shortage in Mali, India airlifted water to Mali.
But tell me,
and then during COVID-19, President Solih in office. So it is irrespective of who is in office in Mali, India was the first responder.
You didn't take President Nasheed's name, I noticed.
During President Nasheed's time, there was no crisis that required us to dial 911.
Well, he became the first democratic president of the Maldives in 2008. I mean, that was surely supported by India.
Very much so.
So there was something.
Very much welcomed by India, not supported.
Not supported.
Well, we elect our own leaders.
Of course, as always,
Yes.
it's the people of any country that
Yes.
elects its leaders.
Yes.
But supported by India from outside. India welcomed the fact that there was a...
India has always welcomed democratic processes in the Maldives, and
Right.
the promotion of democracy in the country.
So tell me, today you're saying that the Ibu Solih Narendra Modi relationship is a really good one.
It is.
And do you believe that India is supporting Ibu Solih's re-election in the Maldives? Your elections are around the corner.
Well, India would support and India would continue to support the democratic processes in the Maldives. And I'm sounding...
Yeah, but it's going to be a democratic election I'm sure.
I'm starting to sound like an Indian official. But
I'm not going to say whether that's a good thing or a bad
no,
thing.
it's not because I shouldn't be saying what India would do. It is up to the EM to say what India would do. But
are you confident that the Narendra Modi government is supporting the Ibu Solih government as it goes into the election process?
Well, again, this question should be answered by...
No, are you confident? Because this is your analysis.
I am confident that the Indian government would back the democratic process in the Maldives.
But who are the democratic forces?
Democratic process.
Which is the democratic process? The
ongoing,
presidential election is a democratic process.
The ongoing elections.
Yeah. But your former ally and friend, President Nasheed, is now in another party. He is split from the MDP, from your party, right? The Maldivian Democratic Party.
Yes.
Why did that happen?
Well, we held the internal primaries. President Nasheed contested. It would have been very good if President Nasheed continued to be in our party. But President Nasheed left.
Why do you think he left?
Again, you have to ask him.
Were you sad when he left?
I am.
You are sad?
I not only was, I am.
You are?
I am, yes, because he's not only a good friend, but also someone who has worked to reign in democracy to the country. Someone with whom, if we were together, this election would have been much more simpler.
So how would you describe it today? This election. You're saying Nasheed has left, he's quit the party, he's split the party, and the election is no longer simple?
Well, he did not split the party, he left with his supporters.
Okay, that's tantamount to splitting the party.
13 members of the parliament went with him. We have 55 members currently.
Okay. So now you are 55 members in the parliament. Yeah. And you say that you are sad that Nasheed left.
Of course.
So are you staying with Ibu Solih or are you going with Nasheed?
Solidly behind President Solih.
Solidly behind.
President Solih, yes.
Okay.
Because President Solih has made sure that we have stable government with a diverse coalition. Difficult thing in the Maldives or anywhere in the world.
But you've had people already leaving your coalition. Qasim Ibrahim has left. Gayoom has left. So your coalition is coming apart.
Their ministers are still in the cabinet.
Sorry?
Their ministers are still in the cabinet.
Okay.
So what you hear in the media may not be the right thing. Because as long as their ministers sit in the cabinet,
right,
I think they are still in the coalition.
So you think they're using this as leverage?
Well, when it comes to elections, Qasim has announced his candidacy and he is probably going to start his campaign soon. But if he has left the coalition, he should have taken his ministers away.
That's a good point.
Yes, and so is MRM, President Gayoom's party. I still with MRM ministers in the cabinet.
But you described this election as not simple. What did you mean by that?
No election is simple.
No, but you said that, and you said this in response to my question that you were sad that Nasheed had left, Anni had left.
Well, you would be too if you were in Maldivian politics and an MDP member, because after all, Nasheed was a significant part of where we are today. So there's a lot of emotions connected to it. But the stable government and the development that President Solih has been able to bring in, reaching out to the people, is something that we have to, and the people of the Maldives are remembering.
So
that is why we are very confident that we will get this election through.
So last few questions, Mr. Minister. The Democrats party that President Nasheed has started, he has floated. What do you think of that?
Well, I think they call themselves the Democrats, but they are still MDP.
They're still MDP?
Yes.
Why do you say that? That's interesting.
Because the policies, everything would be still MDP.
So why do you think they left? You think this was...
That question you will have to ask...
no, why do you think they left?
No,
you are a friend of Nasheed, you are a friend of President Solih.
I don't want to speculate on it.
But now you hear the rumor, as I do, and you know much, much better than me. The rumor is that Nasheed and Yamin are going to join hands and put up a presidential candidate against Ibu Solih. Is that correct?
That's what we have been hearing. That's what.
And how is that going to unfold?
I don't know. But I will definitely...
but it's a solid challenge, right?
We'll win.
But it's a challenge.
Well, let us see who is the candidate.
So a lot depends on the candidate.
The candidate and how long they are able to stay together.
But do you find it surprising that somebody like Nasheed, who was treated so badly by Yamin and his government...
I'm shocked.
Why?
You said how badly Yamin treated President Nasheed and how he was in exile and everything. So, and we all know how dictatorial President Yamin was in his 5 years in government. How he undermined the institutions, how parliament was suspended, how he jailed parliamentarians, how he jailed the Supreme Court justices, including the Chief Justice.
And how he was in hock with China.
And how controlled the state institutions were under him. And these are things that President Nasheed, at least as the president of the MDP, did not approve. And together we fought against Yamin. And I do not believe for a minute that President Nasheed, the MDP president, would join forces with a dictator.
Well, you obviously know something that I don't know, but my question to you is, therefore, do you think it's a mistake for President Nasheed to have left the MDP?
Well, we in MDP are not celebrating his departure from MDP.
What about President Solih? What about President Solih? Is he celebrating?
None of us are celebrating his departure.
But the fact is that now Nasheed is putting up a challenger to President Solih.
Well, we will face the challenger in the elections.
Tell me about China. I know that we are running out of time, but China is a huge presence in the Indian Ocean.
Yes.
And are you nervous in any way? Are you worried in any way? Are you concerned in any way?
Our interest in the Indian Ocean is second to none. First and foremost, because we can't leave the Indian Ocean. Like India, we are stuck in the Indian Ocean.
Absolutely.
Like the other countries of the Indian Ocean, we are here.
Do you believe this is India's ocean?
Well, it has been called Indian Ocean. It is not India's ocean because this ocean is ours as well. So the interest we take in the stability, peace and prosperity of the Indian Ocean is in our interest. For us, we feel that Maldives is the heart of the Indian Ocean. And for Indian Ocean to prosper, we need prosperity in the Maldives. We need stability in the Maldives. And that is why we will partner with our neighbors, including India.
And China. You will partner with China to bring stability in the Indian Ocean?
We are partnering with India, with Seychelles, Mauritius, and others. And that is why we are a solid partner in the Colombo Security Conclave.
One last question that I have for you, Mr. Minister, is about the Russian war in Ukraine. And Maldives came out very strongly against the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Am I correct?
Yes.
But Russian tourists continue to come to Maldives in large numbers. Do you find that surprising, that while you're condemnatory of the Russian action, the Russian tourists are still coming to the Maldives?
For small countries like the Maldives, the international rules-based system is our foremost guarantor of sovereignty and security. And that is why immediately after we became independent, we joined the United Nations. We will continue to condemn violation of the United Nations Charter, irrespective of the country it is. In the past, we have condemned such violations. For example, the war by Iraq against Kuwait. Mm-hmm. Iraq was one of our closest brotherly countries at that time. So was Kuwait.
Okay.
But the first country who condemned the violation of territorial integrity of Kuwait by Iraq was the Maldives. So we do not hesitate in taking principled positions when it comes to the protection of the UN Charter.
But what about the sanctions?
Because tomorrow it may be a small country. And that is why out of the 141 countries who voted for the resolution, they were, out of the 141, the majority, more than the majority, were small countries.
But what about the sanctions that are being applied on Russians?
These small countries did not vote against Russia,
right,
or for Ukraine or for the West. They voted for themselves.
And for the UN Charter. But what about the sanctions that are being applied on Russia? Now, if you are voting against the Russians, then supposedly you are part of the sanctions regime.
If the Security Council or the United Nations General Assembly come out with sanctions, then the member states of the UN should respect these sanctions. But as the legal system of the Maldives stands, we are not able to
You're not obliged to...
Not able to carry out the sanctions levied by individual countries.
But I'm sure there's pressure on you from the Americans, from the Europeans too.
I'm sure that the Americans and the Europeans understand our legal system very well.
So there is no pressure from them to, for example, sanction the Russians who come to your country?
Well, it depends on what you mean by pressure. No. They will, of course, be...
Like, for example, the Russians who are bringing their fancy yachts to the Maldives. Now, the yachts are being sanctioned. They're being confiscated. Is there pressure on you to do that?
We can't. Okay. Because our legal system does not provide for that.
Spoken like a true diplomat and like a true son of the Maldives, Abdulla Shahid, thank you so much for your time.
Always
and for
a pleasure.
Speaking to the press.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much.